Okay, cool. All right, so let's do shears. I'm gonna do this metallic. This is most likely some sort of lamé. It's got like a lurex or basically just clear polyester plastic, right? Acrylic. Whenever you see acrylic on as fabric content, it's just plastic. Polyurethane,
VC?
no.
PVC?
No, still not PVC. Anywho, so let's do
PCP?
so let's do sheer and let's do a lamé. If you can't see, you can come closer. So let's assume that I have a lining that's similar in color to this, and this will be my sheer overlay. So we talked about using like the pumice block. It's not a pumice block. It's it's a this. What is this called? Sanding block. All right. But in this case, we're gonna use crinoline. Okay. So I think and I can give you each a piece of this if you don't take all of it from me, please. Crinoline is usually in like quinceañera gowns, right? Or ball gowns, or if tulle, it's obviously gonna make fullness in a silhouette. I think that the gauge of this is quite large, so it's not gonna work so well with what I'm trying to create because it's this teeny tiny little netting base for this lace. So this lace has these little dots, if you can see them. We could consider that to be an eyelet, okay? Think of like little eyeballs, if you will. And then it's got this embroidered, beaded situation. Whenever there's glass beads onto fabric, it's 99.9% of the time done by hand, and that's why it's more expensive, okay? So it just comes down to scale. I brought a suiting look and an evening look onto my marker paper. So the look I'm gonna do is the one on your left there. So it's just corseted. It's probably, I'm thinking from a construction perspective, because you have to think this way too when you start illustrating, that how is it being built, right? Is it gonna have exposed top stitching, boning channels, all that good stuff? And personally, I think that's more than enough of a design element that I don't have to go crazy with silhouette and just try to make it into something that it's not, right? I think we wanna throw everything but the kitchen sink?
Yes.
Okay, I think we wanna throw everything in the kitchen sink? But the kitchen sink. And we don't have to, because it just becomes over designed and there's too many stories in it. And from that, use your critical thinking skills, right? Look at it. Is there too much happening? Is there too many stories? Pull from that look and start to design more. I know we're like, are we done designing? You're designers. You're gonna design every day for forever and ever. Anyway, so then the skirt, I've made a skirt like this before, and it's just cut on straight grain. It's joined at the hem edge of the corset, and then it would just be draped into cowls or peg-esque. You're the closest one. I don't have my glasses on, so if I make eye contact with you, or I'll make eye contact with you instead. But yeah, so let's do the top, the corset portion to be, again, assuming that I have a lining color that's like in that caramel to kind of follow the same tone of the lace, which I can't make any promises. I pulled all the markers and I made a mess of them. But there are so many possibilities for what your fabric can and can't do. Okay, let's do the red, because I feel like the red was, which one is it? Okay, this one. It's not gonna be perfect, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, because then I can go into my color pencils. So I haven't drawn any of the detail or really the drapery or the shadow, but because I know that the braid is straight and it's gonna fall into these cowls on the side, I'm gonna try and follow the silhouette of the skirt as best as possible and work quickly. You've done this before, but now we're in the home stretch because we're going into evening. Did someone put that on? Can we turn it off? Thank you. I think I'm gonna get a streak down the middle, but I'll be okay. So let the markers do all the work for you, and before they dry, that's when you go in and you say, okay, I'm gonna use my best judgment. Should I go over top of that so that it becomes a little bit more saturated? It's supposed to be high-low, but we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, we should definitely start to do some implied rendering. Like I said, you can either do it on your figure or you can do it as 2x2 swatches. But I believe we're at the 1 month mark today, almost. Because our second to last class will be mounting. We're not gonna be doing, we won't be doing rendering that day, hopefully. Can someone find sand for me and Chartpak in my stuff? Don't all jump at the opportunity. Oh, sorry.
Can I just give you mine?
If you wanna. Okay. Thank you. All right, so I feel like sand is gonna give me that. Close enough. It's wet. Damp. Have you been using this a lot?
No.
Oh.
Did they sell me a dud?
No. Prismacolor and Chartpak obviously work very differently. Oh, pretty. Cool. Thank you. I love these colors together. I don't know that in the real world they would be paired together, but maybe. Could you pass me that box of color pencils with the face on it, please? Thank you. Alright, so we want to find something in the realm of this guy here, which I don't know if I'm going to find the exact one, but, and we also need white. You could even go into silver if you have any metallic color pencils too. Please. Not me on the spot. Yay. Cool. Not cool. You want to do that for me? Please, thanks. I'm going to start with the upper. Okay, so I've got like a darker, that's Crayola, that's garbage. Darker brown here. As long as I don't use too much pressure, I'm okay to use that for silhouette. Because think of it almost like it's giving shadow, right? We talked about our can of soup. It was a different semester, I made that joke. Didn't go over well that time either, but the most important part about where I'm choosing to silhouette first is that there's an intention behind it. It's areas that have like a lot of curve, where there's gonna be more shadow, or there's gonna be more tension in the fabric. We could assume that these are two different pieces, maybe, that the corset's layered over top of the skirt. Okay, maybe the skirt has like a yoke under there so that it's just got a little bit, well, it's from the dollar store, so it's okay. Thank you, though. So yeah, not the perfect color, but and your blender is also your BFF, okay? Your blender can blend almost like act as like an activator, if you will, for your color pencil.
The Prismacolor blender or the Chartpak blender?
Yeah, any blender you can use right on top of color pencil. But I know quite a few of you have draperies like this. So I just want to be very clear that because my color pencils are not perfect does not mean yours shouldn't be. Does that make sense? So I'm using the closest tones I have because that's more of like a true cranberry. My assistant, Ava, offered me a marker, but I would have liked to, but it's okay. Next time. Is it for this swatch?
Yeah, I told you you could use it for that.
That's okay. Next time.
I didn't know.
Next time. If this is gonna be high-low, I'm gonna have to do the inside of the skirt here. So I might even use a different color marker because we'd assume that there'd be a lot less light inside the skirt. Yes, no, maybe? Works. Not the prettiest, but I'm gonna make it work. Okay, blender, BFF, blender, okay? Because we get like that kind of powdery finish when we're working from the back, what we can do with the blender is start to soften, or in this case, blend, right? It's gonna give us a little bit more depth. And remember, even if that marker, I don't know why I keep saying remember, but remember, even though that marker is on the opposite side of the page, the blender is still going to have an impact where you place it. You know, the pigment is still on the same piece of paper, whether it's back or front. But I think it's a really nice way to make the color pencil have sort of a, like a watercolor effect. So let me take that and pass it around while I look for a darker red. Which is right on top. Do you have yours? So the fish that everyone wanted, it's trash. Like, subscribe, and share.
This one isn't fab either.
Fab?
I'm breaking a lot of my pencils.
Is there something stuck in it?
Probably.
I think so. Okay, cool, all good. All right, I need that back if we can mosey on around. Thank you. Okay, cool. I'll give you all a swatch of that crinoline. Okay, and crinoline is more a term you're gonna use when you're literally buying something for like a Sweet 16 or something like that. So if you go to a fabric store and ask for a swatch of crinoline and they're pretentious about it, just tell them you need a very heavyweight tool. Okay, yes? Cool. Still not the perfect color, but not too mad about it. Did I copy your skirt, Alexia?
I'm here.
I copied your, this is from your last collection, right? Oh, my bad.
I know.
Just, yeah, no, not the same, good. Way too dark, but we gotta get this show on the road. If anyone's doing towels or this sort of drapery, It's almost like you're like signing your name. It's very important to kind of flick. So this is that, what I'm using for the skirt, okay? That lamé weight, this quality. So you're gonna get loads, and if you have enough of a swatch, or if you don't have enough of a swatch, don't be afraid to pin this up on the form so you can see what it can do. Or pin it up on the wall, or tape it on your desk so that it has a different effect to it. Because I think when we're designing, more often than not, we're like, oh, you know, I want it to do this, but is it gonna look like that? All right, so it's all based on weight. Same with sequins. I've got four very different weights of sequins. Like what can they do, what can't they do? Even just with the effect of gravity, okay? You can do cascades with sequins. You can do cascades with any type of fabric, essentially. I might even go back in with the blender to make this feel a little bit softer, but I do want to demo the sheer fabric. Okay. It's like the Speed Racer version, but not the right colors, but I think you get the gist of it, okay? Always consider the grain line, direction of the fabric you're using it in, okay? So not to say that this has a twill, it's not a, it's kind of twilly because it's got that vertical metallic-y situation. So that's where we go in with the white pencil. And I know a few of you are probably sick of doing this, but we're gonna give it that same effect as we have with our denim. But we're gonna be intentional with where the light source is coming from. And I could probably make this a lot sharper. And when you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, I've seen this before. So I've almost sort of like thatched. My cat's going deaf, so her meows sound almost exactly like that. It's very sweet. I don't know if she's going deaf or if she just chooses not to listen, you know? But sometimes I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, cookie, or like, squeeze up, and she's like, okay, let's go. But other times, you get it. Not important. But relevant. So that's what my cat sounds like when she chooses to listen. She's also 17, so.
Whoa.
Yeah.
My cat back home's 17 too. Like
Oh, wow.
grade 3.
Yeah. She gets thyroid medication twice a day. And she gets squeeze ups. Those like squeezy TikTok cat foods. At least twice a week. Okay, and now the fun part. So I know we talked vaguely about using makeup, but this would be the final touch, okay? So I've got silver in here. It's tricky because once it's down, it's down. So you have to be very, it's a very old Clinique. But it's like, if it's not screaming jade colors, I don't know. Anyway, I probably went a little overboard with the eyeshadow. And maybe you can't see it so much, but maybe something with glitter next time. What would really make this would be clear nail polish. Okay, so maybe going down one of the legs, right? Maybe one of the thighs, I could put it, kind of hide it into the drapery. I think when we're doing drapery like this, you want to get in there with like lots of black and shadow. Instead, use your 10% grays. Of course, Pushing Chartpak uses other brands. I don't know if you're into. Oh, it's you. Really? be too dark.
Do you have to seal the makeup in, or does it stay?
It should be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's barely, I mean, I can see like the glitter of it. I really think the clear nail polish would do it. But if these were the right reds, that would help. I would definitely leave the eyeshadow for last because it can clog, this is gonna sound so weird, it can clog the pores of your markers. But yeah, don't be afraid to work on top too. And then we'll wrap up with that sheer effect on the corset, okay? So this is gonna be kind of contradictory, but when we go in to do the netting, I could probably, I mean, I maybe could even use this, but scale I'm almost less concerned with because we want to get, it's about getting the effect. It's about creating that illusion of texture from the tool. Again, you're all welcome to take some of that, but I don't know that it's the best. So I'll go over with, you're gonna assume that this is a caramel colored pencil. And I don't know that this is gonna totally work. Oh, it totally worked! Oh, that's one thing today. Sorry, Claire?
I was just going to say I was smaller, like.
Oh my God, this is so cute. Oh my God, this is so cool. Sorry. Thank you, Claire. Thank you. So I'm going all over. So when we say partial rendering, right, or implied rendering, it's all over, but there's areas of the garment, like with our plaids, where it's more distinct, okay? Because when we get really heavy with the rendering, it starts to look a little too flat. It's not to say that you cannot render fully with your plaids, but just be sure that you're being a little delicate with it so it's not like overkill. So in areas like the bust, where there's gonna be some movement, side seams are gonna be a little bit more distinct. But there you have it. So just use the actual swatch and you should be okay. But just a little bit of like texture for the overlay there, okay? And then I'll go in and do the little beading motif. It's gonna be so tiny, so let's just use a really sharp pencil and assume how far apart they would be. I mean, they're actually florals, so this feels very, if you're familiar with laces, it's like a Chantilly lace pattern where we've got kind of like a cluster of flowers that either steps and repeats, where it rotates and it's the same. But in that case, it doesn't have to be too exact. And be intentional with your placement. I don't know that you'll want to have the motif right on the bust. Pick a shape and run with it. Oh, that's not where that one goes. But this is fun. Getting into Evening Town, USA. No, not USA. eveningtown.com/yay. And we've got like some iridescent, so I can go in with like purples and blues. That's white. And I'm just gonna kind of dot in the beads. But that's a nice way to pull some colors too, is to even pull from beading or embroidery in a fabric. I know a few of you have some really busy brocades, so maybe there's a color that you want to include for hair and makeup or accessories that's just pulled from, yeah. Questions, comments, concerns?
Can you demo how to do an netting or a sheer like out of your skin?
Sure. Let's do maybe something like kind of A-line, just so there's like a little bit more
Space.
yeah. Alright, so not totally finished, but maybe with a gray marker I can go in and start to add like the shadow for where the bust is, under bust, ribs, all that good stuff. And I know I mentioned that I had like boning channels. Maybe I don't want them anymore, but if I still want them, I'm gonna use a very sharp, probably black color pencil and make very, very fine lines to make that channeling or top stitching. Even if it's top stitching or channeling, you know, just make sure it's super duper sharp. But Claire asked for like a sheer overlay, so let's do like a sleeve, like a A-line skirt. Let's do
A-line skirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question? Do you have a question?
No, I was just trying to understand what you're doing.
Okay, so A-line is always going to be higher at the sides, unless it is high-low, because we have to assume that it is a circle skirt, right? It's just big circle falling upon itself, and then, yeah. So nothing too crazy so far, just natural waist or high-waisted A-line skirt, okay? Fun, fun, fun. Nothing that exciting yet. So let's just make up the color. Let's do, unless you have a color you want me to use.
No.
Okay, I already used that for another demo blush.
Like with the embellishment, would you use like one gel pen and all, like to make?
Yeah, I mean, I could go in with not too much of it, because I don't want it to look like sequins, right? Because sequins are, we think of just pure reflection of light. So we want to use white dot circular. In this case, so you are correct. There is like a big silver stone in the middle, clear stone. So I could use that. But you're better at this than me, so use your white gel pen. I'm like, oh, I'm ready. I'm organized. It's a wrap. I'm just so sick of pink. It's like my secret favorite color, but like I'm so sick. Okay, you guys are like, shouldn't do it.
Is that a light green?
Do you have like a baby blue?
You have blue here.
I know, I'm trying not to use those markers because you guys have the other ones, and I'm always like, la la la. But this is collecting for 700.
There's also this one.
Do you have a Chartpak one? Can someone grab a colored Chartpak marker for me? That's the one. Ah, no problem. Okay, this is pale indigo. Sorry. It's just more effective if I use what everybody's using. All right, so we know that the waist, it's nipped at the waist and it's coming fuller to the sides of the garment. It's still, think about grain line. I know you're thinking circle, but grain line is gonna be straight, right? So assume it's straight up and down from the waist. So as I'm laying out this marker, I want it to flare to the sides. I'm gonna be as quick as possible. I almost want that inconsistent effect of the marker. You can even go just from top to bottom if you like. Might give you a more literal effect. Good thing I just said that and then did the opposite, but nothing new here. And then at the center, it will be a bit more saturated. I didn't go to the hem, but we'll be okay. So this is something sheer, maybe like an organza. You could go in with that kind of thatching effect, but I feel like that can get a little hazy. So I would almost say to go in with something that has a tulle or netted base, because we don't have to get too crazy with texture with organza or with chiffons, but we still want to create the effect that it's dimensional, right? So I'll use this guy again. And do you have like a tool that doesn't have beading on it, you said?
There's this netting here. This is a tool.
Oh, this is, I think it's too teeny. Let's use the big boy since we'll be generous with it. So maybe you want to get a little closer for this so that it makes more sense as to why I'm doing what. I don't have a baby blue, but I'll use something a little darker. So we know that at the sides we're gonna have more shadow, right? But what we wanna do is we really wanna pull from the hem up toward the waist. Up toward the waistband, a little darker at the sides here. That might be a little bit too dramatic, but I think the contrast of the color pencil doesn't help too much. A little darker at the side seams. And the fuller the skirt, the more shadow we're gonna have in those folds, okay? But every time that you are rendering, it's almost like you want to start in like a messy place, and then we refine everything at the very end. And from the waist, and always pivot, rotate the page so you can pull in different directions. Might be getting a little overkill with it, but maybe don't draw the whole thing upside down, just do a little bit upside down. All right, now for the hem. So let's, do you have an organza? Everyone knows what organza is, right? Organza weight, it's probably like, this is chiffon. This is a crinkled chiffon. So it's got like this kind of pleated, micro pleated effect to it. In this case, with a micro pleated chiffon, even if it was a very full circle skirt, it wouldn't have as much fullness, right? Because it's so lightweight. In this case, you could do really teeny, a lot of teeny tiny of these pulls from hem to waistline, okay? But our organza has a little bit more structure than that. Let's assume it would be almost like a satin, but sheer. Not fully sheer, but, okay. So let's assume this is an organza, which has a bit of structure too. So for the hem, I'm just kind of etching up and down and following the swing as if it was just a traditional circle skirt. And then pulling up, I'm so sorry, Nia. Pulling up from each of those bits. And then at the hem too, I have to be sure that anywhere I've got like these kind of cone effects that are coming out and back in, there has to be a line that is a continuation of the fabric from the inside. So I'm gonna do something goofy and I'm gonna put arrows where I mean, and then I'll pass this around. If you want to, but now this gets into just over rendering, you could go in with like a gray marker, give a little bit more depth. If you're laying different color sheer chiffons or organzas over top, then that would be where you could use multiple color markers, which could be kind of fun, kind of creating like a faux iridescent effect. And then from the waist, give yourself a little bit of that. We talked about gathers in waistbands before too. So if your waistband is gathered, or if it's just like a flat circle skirt, in this case we'd assume it's a gathered waistband into a gathered circle skirt into a waistband, you'd have to do those little flicky bits at the top, okay? Yes? No? This was an easy class today, I feel like.
Would you be able to see like a bit of the leg?
If you don't have a lining, sure. If that's the case, then I'm just gonna draw some legs that we're gonna assume are there. And hope they look like the legs that she would have. I can't see them. Let's just use our imagination.
So you will render the skirt.
Oh
first and then
crap! Did I do from? Oh no. Shh, 2 seconds. Let me do this part first. So I don't make legs in like a totally random place. What was your question?
That you will render the skirt first and then add the legs.
Well, you asked me after I rendered the skirt.
Yeah, I'm asking like in the order, like if you wanted the legs to show.
I don't know. I think I would do skirt first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also depends what side of the paper you're working from, because then it can get really muddy. But from the wrong side, I've kind of feathered out the skin, because if the fabric becomes more dense at the waistband, we're not going to see as much of the body, okay? You there? And moving forward, when I do demos, the phones must be away, okay? I understand if something has to be given attention, but you're taking this class for this purpose, okay? Any questions? Okay, we will do more demos with more fabrics, but we've got the lamé, the sheer netting over, we'd assume, color to match for the base of this fabric, and then just a sheer overlay of the skirt. Okay,